In this video, we're going to talk about how to navigate a breakup. If you've been in a relationship with somebody who probably had an avoidant attachment style or at least had some avoidant tendencies, and they've broken up with you. So I want to talk about some of the specific challenges that come up in that area and what it's like to experience that. And then we'll end with 10 pointers on what you can do to process that. By way of introductions, my name is Daniel Robertson. I'm a relationship coach. You can find me over on Facebook where we have a Facebook group. It's a private group called Avoidant Attachment in Relationships. It's a growth community where we are supporting one another. This is really for folks who either they have a relationship with somebody with an avoidant attachment style, or they have had a past relationship with somebody with an avoidant attachment style, and they're learning, what did I just experience? So I'm going to speak to the specific experience of what it's like to go through a breakup and some of the specific things that happen around these breakups with somebody who has an avoidant attachment style, especially when they're the one to break up with you. Okay, so what are the specific things that happen? So one specific thing that happens when somebody with an avoidant attachment style breaks up with us is it can often be sudden and unexpected. We can be shocked, right? What just happened? I thought everything was going great. Why did this just happen? This can leave us feeling extremely confused. It can make it difficult for us to trust in the next relationship. You mean at any point somebody can just end things unexpectedly? And the another element of this that happens is there's often not that conversation at the end. Most people, when they end a relationship, they will have a conversation with you and make an effort to verbalize how they cared about you and how they care about your feelings and going through this, some kind of regret about having to hurt you by breaking up with you. And you might not get that if somebody with an avoidant attachment style has broken up with you. And another element that can happen is it can leave you wondering, did this relationship ever matter to them at all? And there's a reason why this happens, and it's partly because they're not having that conversation to express to you what the relationship meant. All right, so let's talk a little bit about why this happens. And you might start to wonder, by the way, was that love that I thought we had a genuine love? Was that genuine love real? Okay, or was this all in my imagination? Okay, so those are just a few of the things that can come up when you have a partner with an avoidant attachment style who breaks up with you. So let me talk about this a little bit more, why this happens, and what you might be experiencing. Please know that there is quite a lot of variety. So this partly depends on whether your partner had a kind of moderate tendencies that were avoidant versus somebody who's really severely avoidant, which I see quite frequently, where these are really shocking situations. But let's talk about why this happens. First thing I want to remind you is that if we're really talking about somebody who had an avoidant attachment style, and you're wondering, was that love ever real in the first place? Well, yes, it was, because what happened at the beginning was they genuinely were interested in you. Often folks with an avoidant attachment style are quite charming. They can be quite fun. They can be quite enjoyable to be around. And they're genuinely enjoying the relationship, genuinely taking an interest in you, and you guys are growing closer and closer together. And what can happen is after a matter of weeks, sometimes after 6 months, sometimes if they've got an avoidant attachment style, they go through what's often referred to as a deactivation. Something happens in them where there is maybe too much closeness and intimacy for them. Something triggers some fears for them that, hey, I don't know if I really want to be committed to this too long. Maybe they have fears about, can I really meet this person's needs? They might have some self-doubt and some insecurity in that area about their level of capacity to meet your needs. Something triggers their fear that they might not be good enough, or their fear that they might get engulfed or smothered or locked down into a relationship, into a commitment where they have to give up some freedom and independence that they don't want to give up. And there's a complicated set of emotions, and it can cause them to go through what's called a deactivation or a form of a shutdown. Now, unfortunately, some folks with avoidant attachment styles will say what this feels like is, oh my gosh, I lost attraction for my partner, or I don't have the same feelings for my partner. And that's very confusing for them, and obviously really a painful experience for their partner, who they're saying, I love this person. I thought they were attracted to me, and now they're no longer expressing or showing any attraction or interest in me. What just happened? And it can make you feel like, am I not good enough? Am I not attractive enough? It can cause you to become more insecure. So that's what happens. What that means is that in the early days, when you were experiencing those good times, when you were growing closer and closer, yes, it was genuine. In my experience, most folks with an avoidant attachment style are quite honest with you about how they feel. And what happens is they were honest when they were saying that they were interested in getting to know you and interested in pursuing a relationship with you, but their feelings changed to not even, I wouldn't even say it was within their control necessarily. They didn't expect their feelings to change. They didn't want their feelings to change, but they did. Now, what could they do? They could seek healing, but that doesn't mean they could have gotten healing in enough time for your relationship once this point has happened, right? So, if you're wondering, was that love real? It probably was real. Did the relationship matter to them? It probably did matter to them. But what else happens here? You get to the point where they break up with you, and it might be unexpected, it might be sudden, and you're thinking, like, what just happened? And do they even care? Why are you wondering if they care? Most people, when they go through a breakup, and when they're going to break up with somebody, they're going to express to you something that shows that they care about your feelings, right? They're going to express to you, hey, I want you to know I've really appreciated our relationship. I really appreciated this and this and this about you. I really appreciated this and this and this about our relationship. And I'm really sorry for whatever reason their relationship isn't working for them. They want you to know that they're sorry they hurt you, and they wish you all the best. And you're like, okay, well, now I know why there's a breakup. I know they cared about my feelings, and I feel like I can move on. It's painful, but I feel like I can move on. If you're being broken up with by somebody who had an avoidant attachment style, they might not have that conversation with you. Why wouldn't they have that conversation with you? Well, they might not really have the tools or ability to be able to have that conversation. Remember, this stuff started early in childhood for them, so they didn't have caregivers modeling for them what it was like to have these kinds of emotional conversations. So they might not feel that they have the capacity or the skill set. They probably would feel very uncomfortable with that conversation. They probably wouldn't feel confident in their abilities to have that conversation. They might have shame come up, feeling bad about hurting you. There's, anytime we break up with somebody, it's usually not something we want to do. We don't, if we cared about that person, we're not excited about this experience of breaking up with somebody. And they might have some shame or fear that they're hurting you and not feel good about that. And in order to avoid that shame or fear, they might just avoid having that conversation. What's important about that to remember is that has nothing to do with you. That has nothing to do with you. That's about their attachment style and their tendencies to avoid these difficult conversations. You might have experienced that in the relationship. So you're not getting that. If you're feeling like you didn't get that closure, you didn't get that expression, you're thinking, did this relationship even matter to them? Do I even matter to them? If they're not having that conversation with you to express that they care about your feelings, that could be why. That could be why that's happening, is because they don't feel confident in their ability to have that conversation, right? So do we wish they would? Yeah, I wish they would have that conversation to express that they cared. They might not have had that modeled for them by their caregivers, right? So, and they might not have worked through learning the skills to be able to do that. So, what else could be going on for you? Why would it happen in such a sudden and abrupt way, which it often does? Often, if this is happening in a sudden and abrupt way, what may have been going on is maybe your partner who had their avoidant tendencies or avoidant attachment style, they might have had this buildup of discomfort in the relationship or buildup of some kind of dissatisfaction or concerns about the relationship that, again, they didn't feel confident in their abilities to talk about it, and they didn't see healthy conflict resolution in their upbringing, in their past, so they don't really know. They didn't have that model for them. They didn't learn the skill set to be able to have the conversation to say, "Hey, I'm feeling this way. Is this something that we can talk about and work through and find a solution together as to how we could move forward in our relationship so that I don't feel this discomfort or this dissatisfaction or this problem that I'm having in the relationship?" If they didn't feel comfortable bringing that up, they might have just kept it to themselves. Remember, their caregivers might have even modeled that for them when they were children. Their caregivers might have been emotionally immature and have done that themselves. And their caregivers might have told them, "Hey, your problems are your problems. You take care of your needs. You need to be independent and self-sufficient." So they think, "Oh, I'm not supposed to bring my needs to my partner." You as their partner, you would love to know, just tell me what, if you've got a problem. I would rather know so that at least I can try to support you. I can try to work with you to find solutions. I don't want you to be sitting in this discomfort all by yourself. I want to support you. But they might not have had that modeled for them. They think it's their responsibility to carry. They don't have the confidence to have the communication and bring it up, so they don't bring it up. They just bottle it up and then they wait until either the relationship has gotten to be too much for them and it's kind of beyond the point of no repair for them, or the circumstances. I've seen this happen where they kind of wait for the right circumstances, right? Like they wait for, oh, now I have the opportunity to move because I got a new job, for example. Now that I have this opportunity to move, now the circumstances are right. So I never told my partner that I had any problems, but now that I can leave, now I'm just going to tell them it's ending it. I'm gone. And they're gone. So that can leave you feeling very shocked. And that's probably why it happened. So what do you need to remember out of that? If you're feeling this shock, it probably had to do with their attachment style, right? So now if you're going forward into new relationships and you're thinking, how do I make sure this doesn't happen again? Well, okay, one of the things you're going to want to do is pay attention to, there are ways to identify these kind of red flags that somebody has an avoidant attachment style early on. Again, we could say red flags for any insecure attachment style, right? This isn't to say that somebody's a bad person, right? But you can identify these early on so that you can prevent this from happening again. You don't have to go forward through your whole life with fear that, oh, I could get in a relationship with somebody and at any moment they could just end it with no warning, with no opportunity to have a conversation, to try to work through it, to see if we could find a solution. Um, that doesn't necessarily have to be the case every time. Although when you're going through that experience, if it's just happened, it feels so confusing and so upsetting at that time because you're thinking, like, how do I know that I can ever trust if this can just be gone like that with no warning, right? So there are ways to work through that by learning what you're learning right now. So we'll talk a little bit more about that. So um, the really the real key to take away from this is that the way that they have broken up with you is not personal about you. The way they've broken up with you is about their attachment style, and that's why they have acted in the way they've acted. It has nothing to do with your value. It doesn't even mean that the relationship didn't matter to them. the relationship probably mattered to them. Like if they said early on the relationship mattered to them, right? They were being honest at the time with how they felt at the time. And it doesn't mean that you have less value. It doesn't mean, that there's something wrong with you and that they treated you this way. It has to do with their attachment style. So, I'll just point out one other thing. So I don't know who's listening to the video. Maybe you're at a point where you're trying to think, hey, is this what I've experienced, or still trying to figure out, did my partner have an avoidant attachment style? Because sometimes we have a different situation where we've had a partner who is narcissistic. And I want to point out some differences, which is when a narcissist has a relationship with somebody and they are no longer getting the supply, the narcissist is looking for supply, somebody to feed them and give to them, feed their ego. The narcissist is looking for supply. So if the relationship has gotten to a point where they are no longer getting the supply that they want from the relationship, they might just leave, and it's called a narcissistic discard. They devalue and discard you, and they find somebody else who will give them the supply that they're looking for. So that would be different than a breakup from someone with an avoidant attachment style, where they have deactivated. It's not that they're necessarily looking for supply, but they've deactivated, and that brings on the end of the relationship. Now, of course, there could be multiple elements going on at once. I do want to point out, however, that many people, because of the sudden nature of the end of a relationship, of the breakup by an avoidant partner, because of the sudden nature, they feel as though they have been discarded and thrown away. I can say I've personally experienced this. All right. It feels as though you have been discarded and thrown away. And part of the reason is because it happens suddenly, and they don't have that conversation with you to show you that they cared about your feelings. And somebody with an avoidant attachment style also isn't going to be good at expressing their feelings. So you see them, they move on, and they don't, it's like, are they not upset? Because they're not going to show you, often they're not going to show you the sadness. Now, that could be for a variety of reasons. Either they feel sad and brokenhearted about the end of the relationship. Often, and this is a painful realization, is if they had an avoidant attachment style, the end of the relationship could feel relieving to them because they got that pressure off of them. So now they got that pressure off of them. They feel relieved. Now they can have their independence. They feel safer with the space than they felt when there was somebody who wanted something from them, somebody who wanted a relationship with them, who wanted them to care for their needs. So now that that pressure is off, they might feel relieved. And so you're like, wait, I'm over here crying. I'm over here brokenhearted. And they're just like relieved to be away from me. That feels terrible. So I want you to know, if this happens, if you feel like you've been discarded, this happens because of their attachment style, not because of your value. And no, even though they're not validating your feelings are valid. Your feelings are valid. It's if you feel confused, it's normal to feel confused. If you feel brokenhearted, it's normal to feel brokenhearted. It does not mean that you have less value. Okay, so there's probably a lot of other questions that you have. There are a lot of possible questions that could come up, and be happy to chat with you. Anytime. You can contact me. You can go to Facebook and find me, Daniel Robertson, or you can find me on danielrobertson.com. You can find ways to contact me. If you want to talk about more specific situations, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to give you 10 pointers. Just 10 quick pointers on working through this process. Number one is acknowledge your feelings, right? Validate your own feelings. Acknowledge how you feel. Don't suppress them. You gotta feel it, right? And the way you feel is valid. You're not the only one who's gone through this scenario. It's not even really personal about you, but the way you feel is very valid, right? Other people who have been through this feel the same way you feel, okay? Allow yourself to grieve. So the grieving process, you're going to have probably a period of shock and denial at the beginning. You might go into a period of anger and kind of bargaining, and a part of your anger might be blaming other people. Oh, all men are like this, or all women are like this, or all avoidant attachers are like this. You might go into a period of blaming other people. You might go into a period of bargaining. Oh, what if we could work it out? What if I could get my ex back? What if we could work it out? Um, you might go into some bargaining. You might go into a period of sadness and depression where you're really just hurting and just like feel like, oh, I'm so sad I lost this person. Um, it can be also really hard if that relationship had an addictive element to it, right? If it was like, oh, now you're going through withdrawals. Eventually you get to the point of acceptance, the acceptance and resolution phase of your grieving process, right? And this is not a linear process. This is going to be a cycle, but you got to allow yourself to go through those different phases. Allow yourself to grieve. Don't judge yourself. Don't tell yourself you shouldn't be feeling that way. Allow yourself to go through that process. Um, I would say number 3 is you might need to cut off contact. All right. This relates also to the concept that if this was a trauma bond, if you've got an anxious avoidant relationship where this person was really reminded you of whatever, let's just say, without going too deep into it, you basically felt kind of addicted. It was a trauma bond. There was a lot of push and pull. There was a lot of ups and downs. And you might have had an experience of intermittent reinforcement where they were giving you what you wanted sometimes and then not giving it to you. And so when you got it, oh, I got what I needed. I feel better now. And then they weren't there. And then they came back and they were available to you. And it's like, I got what I needed. And you got the intermittent reinforcement, which has this really addictive quality to it. Trauma bonds have this really addictive quality to them. So you might need to go through this period where you cut off contact. Now, there's a phrase called no contact. I'll just say a couple quick comments. Now, some people out there will tell you to use no contact as a way to get your ex back. Now, that's not always going to work. So, as a strategy, that's a questionable strategy. But if you're using no contact as a way to try to get your ex back, that's potentially manipulative, right? Rather than a direct approach, potentially manipulative. So if you ever come to me and you want to know my opinion about that, I will not counsel you to manipulate people. What I will tell you is that no contact can be good for you. I will always counsel you to take care of yourself, take care of your heart, be the best version of you that you can be, take great care and love yourself. So if no contact is going to be the best way for you to get through this rather than contacting them, getting back in touch, if no contact is going to be the best way for you to get through this so that you're not continually getting hurt or making this process take longer for you than it needs to take, then no contact can be a great way to take care of you and allow yourself to go through this process. Okay? So you might want to go no contact for you, not to manipulate them. Do it for you. Okay? Especially if it had that addictive element and you need to break that addiction. It's not easy. It's not easy. Again, I've experienced a lot of this myself. So, number 4, point number 4, I'll say focus on self-care. Look, if you were injured physically, you would do things to take care of yourself. You would rest, right? So if you're injured emotionally by a breakup, give yourself some time where you're going to focus on some self-care. Now, this might be exercising. This might be pursuing a hobby. This might be a bath with lavender oils and candles. Whatever it is that takes care of you, do the things that take care of you. Take some pressure off yourself. If you can, cut back on some of the obligations, great. Now, if doing social outings and taking on some responsibilities would feel good to you, then you could do that too. It's whatever feels good to you. Structure your life in a way that's caring for you and your needs. Point number 5, lean on your support system. Your support system is going to include your family, your friends, loved ones, people who you go exercise with. If you have a faith community, your faith community. And if you have professional support like a coach or like a therapist, it includes your professional support as well. So lean on your support system. If you've been somebody who has a tendency to really prioritize your romantic relationship above other things, this is going to be a great time for you to take a period of healing. Now, I don't think you have to be 100% healed before you get back out in the dating market, but you want to be at a point of healing where you're healed enough that you're not going to or hurt yourself or hurt other people. And take a period where you're leaning on other relationships outside of romantic relationships. That can be really good for you. Okay. Number 6, reflect on the relationship. Now, a lot of people are going to want to go out there and they're going to want to say, my ex was the bad guy. My ex was the bad guy. They did all these bad things. All I wanted to do was just love them and they just hurt me. And there are going to be people, there are coaches who I see putting out content that's just blaming the ex. The ex was the bad guy and you did nothing wrong and all you wanted to do was love them and they should have never treated you like that. Well, maybe they shouldn't have treated you in the way that hurt you, but reflect on the relationship, really take stock of what were the good times and what were the not so good times. What were the ways your partner was great and what were the ways that they weren't great? What were the ways that you were great and what were the ways that you weren't great that you want to improve? Okay, what ways can you be more loving? What ways can you be more secure? If you've been in a relationship with somebody who's insecure with an avoidant attachment style, it means you probably struggle with your own insecurities. So what ways can you work on your own insecurities? Anyway, that's what we're here for. So lean on our support and our resources. If you find me on Facebook, you get access to a lot of those resources, so you could do that. Number 7, so reflect on the relationship, learn what you need to learn from the relationship, and then work on improving so that you can have better experiences and better outcomes in the future. Number 7 is rediscover your passions. This kind of relates to self-care, but look, hey, what are you passionate about? What's your cause? If you're the type of person who makes your primary romantic relationship the number one thing in your life, hey, reconnect to you. What makes you passionate? What lights your fire? What do you get fired up about? Is it a cause? Is it a hobby or an activity that you love to pursue? Rediscover your passions, reconnect with you, and really just do something that lights you up that's not necessarily centered around a relationship. That's going to make you a more whole person, a more secure person, and it's going to help you get through this breakup when you could focus on something that you really feel good about for you. Number 8 is going to be about setting new goals. Set some new goals for yourself. Life took a turn that maybe you weren't expecting. Okay, what goals do you want to set for yourself? I have to say, this house that I'm in right now, where I'm making this video from, at one time, I had a goal written on a piece of paper. I had my top 10 goals for the year. Goal number 1, get a house in this location with this many bedrooms. And after a year of working toward that goal, I was in a 12-month lease in a location I didn't want to be in. After a year of working toward that goal, that lease was up and I got this house, right? Set goals. I'm a huge believer in goals, and write them down, because you can create that reality for yourself. If you want to know how to do that, talk to me. Okay. Number 9, stay positive. You are going to see content online. You're going to see content everywhere. People who tell you to be negative and people who tell you to be positive. You get to choose. You get to choose what kind of mindset you have, and your mindset is going to create your reality, right? So you will see people online who will talk about how all women are like this, or all men are like this, or all people with avoidant attachment style are like this. And you can just blame these other people and have a negative attitude, and you can hear about how the dating market is awful and there's no one good out there. You can have a negative attitude all day long, and you're going to experience negativity. If you flip it and you say, hey, I want to focus on gratitude. If you focus on gratitude and you feel grateful, you will attract more into your life to be grateful for. That's a bold statement, but I can put a stamp on that and practically guarantee it. So you might not believe that right now. That's that's up to you. You don't have to believe it. Have a positive attitude, because your positive attitude will will affect your experience of life. All right. So two people can look at the same situation, and one can say it's negative and one can say it's positive. The one that comes to mind right now is the story of the two entrepreneurs who go to a new country, and they're both shoe salesmen. One says, "Hey, nobody here wears shoes." So they pack up and leave because they think, oh, nobody wears shoes here. I can't sell my shoes. The other one says, nobody here has any shoes, so I can sell my shoes to everybody, right? Same situation, two different people, two different perspectives. Here's a better one. Here's a better one. Two people get in a car crash, a car accident. They both walk away with no injuries. Their car is totaled. One says, one says, oh my gosh, why does the worst stuff always happen to me? My car got totaled today. The other person, same exact situation, says, thank goodness I wasn't injured. Oh my goodness, this is the best day ever. Same situation, two different people, two different perspectives. You choose how you want to look at it. Number 10 is give yourself time. Don't judge yourself. It's not about, hey, I should be over this by now. I wish I was over this, or I should be further along, or I shouldn't still be dealing with this. The grieving process, the healing process, the personal growth process is not linear. You're going to go through cycles. Stuff will come up again. It takes time. And just give yourself the time you need. You're a human being. You're a human being. So, I hope that was helpful. I hope that was helpful to get some of the insights into what specifically happens when somebody with an avoidant attachment style breaks up with us. It can be similar when if we've broken up with somebody with an avoidant attachment style, you can go through some of the same questions of did the relationship even matter? And they might not show it. They might not show it. So that it is what it is, but you can choose what you want for your life. You can create the life you want for yourself. So I hope this was helpful. Um, we do have the community available to you. It's free. Avoidant Attachment Relationships, the Facebook group. You can find me on Facebook and get in contact with me. And we're here to support you. So reach out if you would like support. And I hope you have a beautiful day. You're not alone. We care about you. And you have so much to look forward to. This process that you're going through right now, it's temporary. It's not forever. This too shall pass. And you can really create personal testimony to this. You can create the life you want, even if you've gone through a really painful breakup. So give yourself the time to take care of yourself. You can get through it, and we're here to support you. I hope you have a beautiful day. I hope this was helpful. And with that, I will just say, take care.